Hey everyone, it's Clint. I made a whole unboxing video and I just got off on some weird tangent that made no sense. So rather than opening it up again, pretending like I didn't already open this, I'm going to show you the package and talk about my point because the point is not the unboxing, though I did get distracted by it. I actually want to talk about not using YouTube, using a mailing list. I was famous for this. At the beginning of basically my first downcast book, my first book on a crowdfunding campaign, because I used the mailing list, I thought of my YouTube channel as just a way to sort of generate interest and generate leads, get people to my mailing list, and then from there I can let them know when the campaign launches. They don't ever have to watch another video, they can just be interested in my comic books. And that has been a successful strategy for me. But it's easy to get hung up on YouTube and how important and how special YouTube is. And yes, it works for a number of creators out there, but the more that I think about it, there are actually more, think about this, there are more successful crowdfunded comic book creators that do not have a big YouTube presence than there are with a YouTube presence. That is absolutely true. The more I think about it, there are a few big names, yes, that have big YouTube channels, but most of the big names that you're thinking of, they might have YouTube channels, but they're not actually spending a lot of time making video content. They're spending more time making comic books. Uh, and the differentiator is, do they have a big long career in comics? Maybe. But I think really the big difference is they found a way to generate a mailing list. They can reach their audience, and yeah, they might be using YouTube in the mix, but not exclusively. Let's go over one example here as I'm sort of looking through. These are extras. By the way, this is the Kryptonals campaign. I backed this specifically because this cover is one of the greatest covers I've ever seen. It's amazing. So thick book. Hoping the book's pretty good. Looking forward to reading it, but we'll kind of look through these things a little bit as I talk. But let's do a case study here, okay? Brian Polito, for example. Brian Polito doesn't have a big YouTube presence. Yes, he has a YouTube channel, but that's not really what he's known for. Now you're going to say immediately, well, the reason why uh, Brian Polito does so well is because he's a legend in the industry. He made comic books back in the 90s. But I'm going to go back and say, I don't think that's it. I really don't think so. Because Brian Polito, like many other comic book creators from the 90s, could have jumped into crowdfunding and done terrible. But what was the magic thing that made Brian Polito do better? And I think that's because one, he was first into the crowdfunding game, like the first, one of the first comic book creators to really hit it and find like a good stride, and he's been growing everything. But he has really focused on his direct to customers mailing list. He's communicating with his customers and they hear about his stuff. He puts out new books. He's constantly putting out new things so that they can collect and follow along. And that's been pretty successful of him for him. Has his career in comic books, in the 90s, was that helpful to him? Sure, it was, but it was not everything. Absolutely not, because there are so many other comic book creators that have had careers in comics and done well and have been reasonably popular, and they've absolutely failed at crowdfunding. So is all that they're missing a YouTube channel? Well, no, because where's you could list a number of comic book creators that do really well on crowdfunding and don't have a notable YouTube presence, and they're still doing well. How is that possible? Again, I think it's the mailing list. So one little case study that I experienced this week is using my own mailing list. I obviously had known that it was important a long time ago to do a mailing list, but I'll admit I haven't been very good at communicating to that mailing list very regularly. So I sent out an email about Dracula, and I told people that it was going to be coming. I said they could follow along on the pre-launch page just to check out a little bit more about the campaign. And I got a sizable spike in people signing up for that pre-launch page just from my own mailing list. Now, I heard from a few of these people, and they said, "Hey, Clint, I had no idea you were doing a Dracula book." And you'd say, "How is that possible that you don't know? I've talked about this for months, years even, on my YouTube channel." The answer is, not everybody likes to watch my YouTube videos. Shocker. But there are people out there that are interested in comics, and they could care less about YouTube. So I don't know. There's something there. So the point of this video is I get asked a lot. I used to get asked a lot more than I do now, but about YouTube and how you build a YouTube channel up. And I'll hear people say like, "Hey, if I'm not cut out for YouTube, I can't make comics. That's too bad." I don't believe that's the case, but I do think you have to figure out how to get people interested in your stuff and be in touch with them. YouTube's absolutely helpful, but I think, again, if you think about it, there are more successful comic book creators that are crowdfunding comic books that have a channel that is smaller than, I'll say, 6,000 subscribers that are doing very well and making successful campaigns and communicating with their customers, uh, but yet they don't have a big YouTube presence. So can you do that too? Can you do that without experience in the industry and some street cred from working at Marvel or DC or Image or wherever else? I don't know. I would love to see more examples of people killing it. Again, I think they're out there, but yeah. So don't get too discouraged if you can't do YouTube. We will see though, because my test here for Dracula really is going to be how much can YouTube or can my mailing list pull its weight. Obviously, I'm still going to be doing YouTube. I'm going to be doing a live stream to launch and promote it, but I want to be better with the mailing list and using it more effectively and getting the word out that way. So we'll see how it goes, and I'll report if I learn anything new. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next video.